Hello. Thank you for joining us, or welcome back if you've been checking out other episodes. Today, we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to color outside of the lines and go a bit freestyle. So we did have topics prepared, but because of our pre-chat, our pre-recording chat we just had, we decided to, just kind of go with the flow today and just have I would say a coffee chat, but it's kind of hot out today, so I'm drinking water. But thought we would just have
Here.
a coffee chat. So if you're so inclined, hope you stick around for this conversation. So, Veronica, how's it going? What say you?
Hello, Jillian. And I have to say, I'm so happy about this freestyle. And maybe it's the beautiful weather, or it kind of brings me back to how we got to know each other and how everything started, because everything started with a coffee, and then we start being creative and coming up with
Hmm,
ideas and creating things. And our pre-chat before this, we discussed like 3 topics that
I
can be
know.
marketing related. So
Yes.
with us, you never know. So even if, as you said, we do have a list of topics, we said let's try it and um, just be ourselves a little bit.
Hmm.
So what we can do actually, maybe discuss the SEG's hot topic that you attended the webinar, and we discussed about the article a little bit, because it's something that people don't really think, or especially small companies,
Yeah.
um, how we call them here in the Netherlands as a pairs, or that will be the freelancers. Can we call them freelancers? Yes, in the States, that will be the right terminology, right? Or outside.
Yeah.
Small,
Yeah, pretty
small
much.
businesses, or like one-man show type of thing, depends how you're
Yeah, they
registered
call
with.
us solopreneurs. Yeah,
Yeah.
can be. Yeah.
So maybe today what we can approach is a little bit different, because as a solopreneur, uh, you're so focused on surviving, on doing the projects that you have, that you kind of forget about the bigger picture. And I'm not talking here to go after the clients or things like that, but I'm talking about what is actually happening socially that impacts your business, and from like the SEGs, for example, different policies that are written by the European commissions, or the parliament, and that actually impact you, especially if you want to work with bigger companies. Did I touch a topic that we
No,
shouldn't?
I was trying to not interrupt and let you finish your thought. Yeah, so going back to try to pick up the first thread when you were talking, I did attend a webinar today about the double materiality matrix, et cetera, which is largely about kind of the mindset and tools. Is how I would think about it, how I describe it. So the mindset and tools for small businesses to think about incorporating sustainability into their business. It's like
Yeah.
what to do, how to think about it, what it is, etc. And so I think, the webinar I attended, we can put a link in the show
Yeah.
notes. It was really
And will
great.
take place again.
I think there'll be a replay, etc. It's really great. There were lots of frameworks and tools, etc. But one of the points that was made by the presenter, Stephanie, was that,
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
she used the idea of an iceberg. And it's like the top of the iceberg in like the glacier and iceberg situation. It's like, yeah, the part we can see is all the stuff that people talk about. With sustainability, there's so much emphasis on like, yeah, what tools to use and what technology, and then how you're going to market it, how you're going to communicate it. But there's actually a lot more under the surface that's more perhaps vital to the actual business. So she did a really good job of painting a broader stroke about what sustainability is for a business. Yes, I thought it was great. And I had mentioned to you also that, we were saying that sustainability, a lot of people, have preconceived notions about what it is or what it means. And I was laughing, like, you know, on the one hand, it feels like, but this is all new. All of these things are kind of newish, but really not, because it's been around for a long time. And then you said, yeah, but people have kind of, ignored it or just not paid attention to it. and it made me think of this article that came out within the last week from The Guardian, from climate scientists who are feeling doomed. And what did I say the title of the article was?
I think I have it over here.
Yeah, they're terrified but determined to keep fighting. Here's what they said. It's let's see, what was the name of the title? Yeah. Hopeless and Broken. Yeah, this is it. Hopeless and Broken. Why the world's top climate scientists are in despair. So anyhow, yeah, so we were chatting a little bit about that. So yeah, I think you were just mentioning, and it also came up in the webinar today, that as well as, you know, the experience I've had in speaking with business owners, both in Europe and also in the US, I think a lot of people, yeah, so this is my very scientific kind of calculation, the way I think about it. So it seems like roughly 40% of companies are aware of this stuff, and they are doing, we'll call the bare minimums. They do the things that they must do. In Europe, it's largely due to CSRD mandates, so regulatory mandates. So there are a lot of companies that are now, you know, their train is on the track, but only because they have to, but it's there. I would say another 40% are utterly unaware or have their heads in the sand or just not engaging with it. So that's the work to be cut out. You know, it's the work cut out for us there to get their, you know, trains on the track, so to speak. Yeah,
I agree.
And then the last 20% is companies that are really engaged with this work and understand the ramifications and the opportunities. So I'd say the 20% are like the bleeding edge, which may be more like 10%, but I think 20% sounds more encouraging. Yes. So that's how I see it.
I think depends how you look at them, because if you look at the smaller businesses, and I'm talking here below 20 employees, I think 90% of them, they're not prepared for it, or they don't know, or maybe now they're start to look into it. And in terms of bigger companies, over 50 employees or something like that, I agree with you with the percentage. But for how I started, especially the micro, that's the segment I'm focusing on, the micro companies and also the small companies. A lot of them, they think this doesn't really affect me. I'm too small for it. So they ignore it. You do have the purpose-driven companies, or you do have a couple of them that they have the sustainability at the core. So that's a little bit different, but that's a very small segment. However, the majority, they are like, I'm too small to have an impact or to do that. And I find it funny because I kept on sharing these statistics. This small segment actually has the highest impact on the economy because they're so many and so small, but they do believe they are very insignificant. And maybe it's a mindset here that needs to be shifted, but it's not only them, but also the entire economy doesn't really regard them as important, because, you know, if one drops, doesn't really affect the overall numbers. However, if more of them are falling, then you see it has an impact. However,
but even hold on a second, because even as a cohort, if you will, I think just another view for, you know, the smaller businesses that you're talking about, the micro businesses, or, you know, the smaller companies, you know, so some of them might struggle to think, or they might think, I'm so small, what impact can I have, or it's not my responsibility, or, you know, all these things. Another way to think about it is this kind of cohort idea. So if you think, yeah, maybe you, but you plus all the other businesses of the size of your business or industry, whatever, in your region or in your country or whatever, if you band together and start to allocate or direct your buying, making your buying decisions in a more sustainable fashion, that's another way to really change things up, and really
that's the way you need to change.
Apply pressure from the bottom up.
Yes. And this is actually what is happening now with the directives and everything. And I do know Stephanie, as you know, she's working with me, and we did push for this. We actually had the online networking with us being the same team, and that was more diving into it. The problem is they don't really understand, or they don't have the tools. So this is actually one of Stephanie's mission, to provide those tools, that framework, how to apply it. But the biggest impact will be, even if you're a solopreneur, if you want to work with bigger companies, that actually is the case, especially for consultancy, you'll have to have that in place, because otherwise they will not be able to work with you.
Mhm.
So this why it's becoming imperative now for also for the small ones, small companies, to start taking it seriously, and to implement and to. I think it's a change of attitude actually, because if
Mm.
you really look, they do compared to bigger one, maybe as I said, they have a bigger impact and they do a lot of things, but they are not recording them, or they don't do it consciously. I
Mhm.
think that's the switch needs to be done, having that framework and being organized. And I think that's a bigger discussion, because it's not only about the SDGs, for example, or the sustainability. It's more about the overall work that we kept on discussing here, because as a small company, that's the biggest issue that you have, how to create those systems and to
Right.
put procedures in place. And
Right.
at the beginning, you say, like, I'm just a solopreneur, I'm working by myself, it doesn't make sense. But the moment you start adding one person or two persons, and actually, what the point I want to make, if you really sit down and look at everyone you're working with, they don't need to be on your payroll necessarily, but all the stakeholders, accountant, maybe you have a VA, maybe you are working with different partners for different projects, then you are bigger than you think.
Mhm.
But they don't see that. Maybe that's actually where the switch needs to happen.
Mhm.
Stop seeing you
Yes. More
individual.
opportunity. Yeah, there's more
Yeah.
opportunity to influence and kind of having a larger footprint. I feel like, pun intended. Um, yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I think along the same lines, so certainly working, looking at the stakeholders, right? So who are the who and what are the entities and people that interact with or interface with your business? And so there's opportunities there. Number one. Number two, the purchase decisions, right? So who are we buying from? So that's the second one. And the third one is, what type of clients are we working with? And so that's an area. It's like, okay, so maybe I don't, I'm not in fossil fuels and I'm not doing all these things, but there's still an opportunity to refine or refocus the type of clients that we work with. And so this is another opportunity for us to engage in the work of sustainability that really requires all of us to pitch in. So it's
Let
another
me
way to
be
look at
here
it.
the devil's advocate, because yes, I agree with you. However, if you're talking with a smallpreneur, a entrepreneur that they are struggling, right? So they are not that choosy, that picky when it comes to clients, because maybe they're in that survival mode. So in that case, it makes it harder for them to choose the right client.
Well, I think that is a larger problem of the business, because if we're in the position of with a business where we're just taking anything, that's a foundational issue with
I
the
agree with you.
company to be addressed. And so I mean, certainly that would probably a good starting point. And if that is the case with a business right now, then perhaps looking for opportunities to engage with or embrace sustainability can be, a real catalyst to help them evolve their business into a way that's more sustainable, and not I don't know, I don't want to use the word desperate, but struggling.
Struggling.
So that could be this could be even a even better circumstance. If you're really struggling, now might be the time to change things up a little bit, do it a little different,
And
and
usually that's the
dip your
moment.
toes in. Yeah.
It's very hard the point I wanted to make here is very hard when you're on that hamster wheel to see
Mm,
that.
mm,
And when you are working from I will use the word struggling, because and
yeah.
desperation,
Yeah.
when you are in that state of mind, it's very hard to actually see the light at the end of the tunnel, or to see
Sure.
opportunities. um,
Sure.
Maybe now it's a good moment to remind our listeners about our opportunity, because if you're one of those listeners that you're struggling and you're not able to work with the clients that you want, or to have the right system in place, we do have the um, episode where we are inviting one of you to join us, and we can help you see different opportunities. We can help you identify what can you change or what can be switched. And usually from my experience, it's something quite small that you can change tomorrow that starts having an impact to make it easier for you. And of course, as always, we're going to have in the comments, in the description of the show, the links to book a call with us for the audit, the life audit of your business.
Yeah. So what else is happening? So I brought out, like, straight away, I brought out the doom and gloom with this article, talking about climate. We're talking about, yeah, SDGs and climate and CSRD and OPP and, all of these acronyms and whatnot. So aside
Yeah.
from that, in our freestyle session here, I thought I would open the door to see if there's anybody else waiting to come in.
I think we did start on a more gloomy note, but actually it's looking around what I see, people are probably is the weather, at least in the Netherlands, because now we have the good weather, and I do see more action. I do see people more willing to interact, and everyone was complaining about the first quarter that was a little bit harder and eating. I don't know if you experienced the same, but now I do feel like people are more willing to have conversations, to look for opportunities, more events. I was yesterday at the, we are media partners with the Utrecht International Welcome Center, and was lovely to be there and to speak with people and to see so many lovely initiatives and what they're doing. And by the way, amazing city. If you haven't been there, go and see it.
I love it there. Yeah, I love their canals, actually.
Yes,
Of course, that's what people
beautiful.
say. Yeah, it's really nice there.
And it's not only I was there, but what I see is more and more events and people happier and more willing to have a conversation. So and also to spend money, because there's something important, especially for our listeners. After and what I'm noticing, I don't know, I'm curious what you think is, you used to have every 10 years, then 5 years, the recession. Now we start having it every other year.
I know.
It's
Well,
like,
there's so much volatility between the climate and then the geopolitical situation is pretty extreme right now.
exactly.
So it's no surprise. People, it's like you don't know whether to run or hide in a way. And that's like the exact opposite of what we, really need. But I think there's kind of a human reaction to, like, some of us freeze, or, we operate the same ways. We freeze, we hide, we ignore. And then a couple of us on the fringe try to, like, plow ahead. But I
Go ahead.
think,
Yeah.
I think it is that. I think, and I have seen that as well, in conversations I've had with folks, all the way up the ladder, to the toppity top Fortune 100, to small independent freelance businesses, in various cities around the globe, and pretty similar sentiment across the board. So what you're alluding to is kind of feel like another tally, like, yep,
Yeah.
again scientific evidence that this is actually happening. A lot of people have experienced that, like, and the unspoken, either recession or preparation or anticipation of a recession or whatnot.
Honestly,
But
I'm not even really sure
it's
what it is.
yeah, but that idea, like, companies, a lot of examples of how this is manifesting. Certainly I've heard loud and clear from a number of folks looking for new job opportunities, that
Yeah.
the hiring is, like, it's very tight right now. So I think for folks that are in that situation, it's probably the same answer as we gave to our friend here who's struggling in their business. Sometimes when we're trying to keep going one way and we're struggling, it requires us to pivot slightly, or at least turn our head and look around a little bit. Because generally there is opportunity around us. It might not look like we thought it would, or it might not look like it ever has before. It might be different. But I think in a time where there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of angst and whatnot, it requires us as individuals, and certainly as organizations, to be far more open and agile and creative, than we previously were or had to be.
I agree, and I think it's we need to start changing our mentality, because you can't really freeze everything. So if you did that every 5 years, 2 years, okay,
Yeah,
you can make it work, but you can't freeze all your activity or budget every other month or
I
every
know.
year, because that
Yeah,
will affect everything that you're doing and all your
yeah,
efforts. You're gonna end up working not double, but 4 times more,
yeah,
spending
yeah.
more money and having
And
less
it
results.
requires more energy. It's not
Exactly.
efficient in the long term. You have to,
It
you
makes
know,
no sense, actually. Makes
yeah,
no
I
sense
agree.
from any point of view. But
Yeah.
that requires an acceptance of the reality and switching the way of working. So
Mm,
instead of finding different coping mechanisms, because frozen your budgets, basically, it's like, okay, I'm not spending anything because I don't know, it's uncertain.
mm,
The uncertainty, it's freezing you. So I don't have the solution actually, but maybe that would be something everyone could think or ponder, or just maybe send us a message if you have a solution. How can we, or maybe we should have a guest, more like a psychologist. That will be interesting actually to have that discussion. How can you mentally prepare yourself for that? Or how
mm,
can you overcome these fears? Because it's a real fear. Like, let's be honest, the two of us, we are also thinking, like, should I invest in this? What can I do? Because you do need new clients, or to be able to invest, right?
mm-hmm.
You do need the funds.
Yeah.
However, you can't really froze everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the life doesn't
Yeah.
stop. You
Yeah, the show has to go on, right?
exactly. So very interesting discussion to see. And I read last week, was it? I don't remember where, that UK declared officially they are out of recession.
Mm,
And funny enough, afterwards you saw more traction on the market. So they
mm,
are definitely connected. Maybe actually the answer is not from us, but it's from the governments that
mm,
shouldn't
mm,
be so what's the word I'm looking for? Eager, or not to jump and
mm,
declare recession or
mm,
inflation or
mm.
everything, but to
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking maybe there was a correlation with the number of B Corps, because the
Hmm,
UK is really kicking ass in the B Corp world. They have now, I think, over 2,000. They have grown pretty drastically. They've had like pretty significant growth in the past year and a half. And so I'm thinking
okay.
it's no surprise, because that's a sign of a healthy economy. If
Mhm.
I don't know the total number of businesses in the UK, but having 2,000 of them already as certified B Corps is a pretty significant number.
How many
So
are in Europe or in the Netherlands?
Europe, there are, oh, I forget the number off the top of my head. So I know there's 8,500 globally, and in the Benelux area, it's around 400, I believe.
Okay.
But I'm not sure which. Yeah, I mean, yeah, anyway. So I think
It's
2,000 gives
quite
you
a
an
low
idea.
number though.
It is a low number. That's why I'm saying, if you look at, yeah, I was like going to try to flex my knowledge of geography here, but like maybe I should not. But looking at the size of Benelux and looking at the size of the UK,
I
you
was,
say,
was
but it's
exactly the
not.
same thing I was
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
in my
I
mind.
know, I know, but you can't necessarily do that. It doesn't always
No.
work out. But that's why I'm like, I don't know what the total number of businesses is for either of those areas to know like the potential,
Mhm.
to be able to, it's like per capita. I don't know how to really compare the two, but all I know is that the UK is kicking ass for sure. So, again, I don't know if it's causation, or just, coincidence,
But
but,
very interested to see if there are any research or statistics about that, and
mm,
why.
mm.
Maybe B Corp actually has a study about it, or they should. If
Or
they're
it's like happening
listening,
right
you
now.
should.
So maybe, yeah, I mean, hopefully this will be some research that they can turn around maybe like next year, so we can see in a shorter time
To
span, and not,
understand what
yeah,
was
we don't
the
have 5 to 10
motivation.
years to wait. We need the evidence now, you
We were
know?
able to create a vaccine in how many
Right, true,
months?
true. Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah.
So yeah, uh, But we do live in interesting times, and a lot of things are happening. And I do feel people are moving forward, and there's the energy, and things are happening. Um, despite, I feel we are also starting to get used to all the negativity or like the war. And somebody actually said yesterday at the event that the war ended, and I was like, what? Is there something that I don't know? But no,
Oh,
we just got so used to it.
P.S. Which war?
The Ukraine one.
Mm.
And actually there are so many, but that was
Yeah,
it.
that's the point. Yeah, yeah.
But we got so used to them. They
Hmm.
became reality. We
Yeah.
don't react to
It's
them anymore.
yeah, it's like becoming desensitized. And I think that's part of the
That actually
human kind of,
worries me.
yeah, me too. It's like part of the human condition. Like I think we have that built-in default switch. Maybe not all of us individually, but collectively, it seems that we have that where we just become desensitized to things or just which is really another way of thinking status quo. So again, I see maybe it's a stretch, but I don't think so. How there is kind of this attitude in the business community about, I want to say achieving status quo, because for a lot of businesses, they have slipped back a bit. So they're trying to, regain their footing to achieve status quo, or are just content just to remain where they are,
Yeah.
and being desensitized to all this climate noise and all of these things because it's whatever all the reasons that they have in their minds, or because they've been seeing it for so long, so it can't really be that urgent. We're still here. It's I still can get in my car and drive down the street and order a Big Mac or whatever from McDonald's, like big deal, so I think there's some interesting correlation between the desensitization as well as like this business as usual. It's like the
And
default
maybe the
switch.
discussion shouldn't be you as a business owner, but you as a human being.
Yes.
And that will change everything.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Because,
need to. It's a
yeah,
change management piece. I mean, all of these things I've been saying for this whole world of sustainability and ESGs and B Corps and all the other titles that we have, for any of those to have a chance at, I want to say succeeding or sustaining, I think there are two main levers that need to also be addressed first, like foundational pieces. One is on the finance side. So the way the capital markets are set up, I mean, executive compensation and all of that, the shareholder piece, all of this has to be retooled or figured out. So I know there's a lot of efforts to work on a regenerative economy, and then there's the donut economy and all of these bits, but regardless, the finance piece. And the other lever, I believe, is change management, which encapsulates the leadership side. Leaders need to develop or evolve. We need to actually kind of cultivate new leaders. And then also I would say like the general public, consumers. We as people have to make the decision to start to make better choices and to become educated and ultimately to take responsibility for ourselves, and what we consume. And I think,
but
if you think
here
about
again, the
it, besides,
discussion we're
yeah,
going
go
to
ahead.
go, are you able to afford that? Because for you to consume more organic things or sustainable things, those by default are more expensive.
Not always.
Not always, but in the majority of the cases. Maybe the problem is actually let's make them accessible to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then
I
it's
mean,
easier to
access is a
switch.
big deal. Yeah, I mean,
That's,
access is a big deal, and it's like the roadmap for everybody isn't the same, because depending on where you live and what your resources are, what access you have, it's going to be different. But
yeah.
everybody has the opportunity to do something to contribute. Um, but I would say, as we know, the people with the highest resources in the world contribute the worst, pollution and
That's the
exploitation
problem.
and et cetera, et cetera. So so everybody's effort will be different. But for some places, like I know there's large kind of areas in the US where people don't have access to fresh fruits or vegetables anywhere around them, period. Yeah.
And
So
not only in the
organic or not.
US, like that happens everywhere. There.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny, everybody thinks, of course, the US is the gold standard, I guess. Or not everybody anymore, but there is this lots of propaganda and whatnot. And there are some good things about it. My family's there. But no, in all seriousness, it is yeah, it's not easy, but it's simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all need to contribute. Actually, it's very simple and basic. We all need to contribute, as you said. And we
it's like simple things. I was in a board meeting last night and I was chatting with them about how several of the committee chairs sent their reports through email as attachments. And so we were talking about the difference, the carbon emissions, the difference between sending a link versus an attachment. And it's pretty considerable. It's like a 92% difference. So people, I mean, even that alone, if people just thought for a minute, it's like, remember when we started to learn about don't print because of how, like so people,
but people don't realize sending emails has good carbon.
Right. So it's little things like that. Like people are beginning to realize like the reusable cup, the reusable bag. These are some small things, but getting people, I think it's really more so about behavior and getting people to feel like there's small things that they can do, the small wins, and just getting them to build the behaviors and stacking them one at a time. You know, it's like the same idea when you're trying to change somebody's diet. You don't just have them stop eating everything they're eating, but instead just add broccoli to their plate once a week, just to start to incorporate new things. And so,
take out one item.
Yeah. Remember when we used to print everything? It's like, gosh, now
and that was normal.
Yeah, exactly. And so now it's like, that's the next one. So remember when people used to see in a lot of people, like their email signatures, they would say, think twice before you print this. Da, da, da. So maybe we have to start. That's our campaign. Maybe we start a campaign and we include that little footnote in our email signature as a reminder. It's a 92%, carbon emission savings or reduction if you send links instead of documents, just as a PSA. So I mean, just that. I mean, it's just a simple example. Yeah, just a simple one.
Maybe that's a good way to actually finish today's episode on a positive note. What you can
an action item.
An action item. What you can do now to contribute to the sustainability.
I think so. Let's roll with it. So that's our challenge to you. So are you already doing this? You get a star if you are. And if not, then now's a good time to start. And maybe you'll also consider adding that to your email signature. I'm going to test it out because why not?
Exactly. And don't forget, if you want to share with us how you are switching your company to be more sustainable, or if you have any marketing challenges or actually any type of challenges when it comes to your business, don't forget to book a call with us, and let's see if we can have an episode auditing you and providing some value.
All right.
So, that being said, thank you so much for being with us in this more freestyle type of episode. I'm curious if you liked it or not. Let us know, and see you soon.
Have a good one. Cheers.